Hello. Sorry, I'm just making sure that this is working correctly, and then we can get started at 10 a.m. ish. Um, I see 5 viewers. Hey guys. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening slash night in India. Currently, it is 10 a.m. here in the United States. Very interesting morning for all of us. Let's see if I'm live. Okay, I see that I am live. Okay. Okay. So I see that we have 5 viewers. Let's wait a few more minutes and we can actually get started. And if you guys have any questions you want to come up with in the meantime, just make sure to write them down so I can address all of them. 4 viewers right now. I'm currently wearing my ILMUNC India jacket. Very exciting. I was so excited to get this. You want to see the back? Actually, I don't know. That's too much work. You guys will see it at conference. I'll make sure to show you guys. Still 4 viewers. Let's get more people. Ask me questions soon. I'll say we'll start at like 10:05ish, as soon as we get a few more viewers. So just hang tight for a little bit. I'm looking outside my window. It's currently raining. Very gloomy day. It's not sunny in Phil. It's not always sunny in Philadelphia. I don't know if you guys watch that show, but yeah, they lied to me, I guess. Okay, I guess I'll just go ahead and start now. So, my name is Risha Rohera, and I will be your chair of the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit at ILMUNC India this year. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania studying most likely finance and either business analytics or e commerce or operations information decisions here at the Wharton School. So, I'm still a little bit undecided in what exactly I want to concentrate in, but in general, I'm studying business. That being said, I lived in Manhattan Beach, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, from the age of 0 to 11. And then when I was 11, I actually moved to India. So I lived in Bangalore for a couple years. I attended an international school there. Um, Pretty fantastic. If you saw one of our other webinar people, it was Vatsal. So we went to the same exact school actually at different times, which is pretty interesting. Um, but yeah, so like um, I guess that's a little bit about me. I lived in India for a couple years, and then after that, I moved back to the U.S. So back to the same place in Los Angeles. And after high school, I came to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So basically, good morning, Faraz. I see you. um, okay. So, oh, it's 8:30 p.m. Cool. Yeah, it's 10 a.m. here. Very early. Not that early though, but basically, what I want to do with this session is make sure that I'm catering to your questions and making them this as constructive for you guys and as helpful for you guys to actually do well at this conference. Obviously, I'm super excited and I can talk about a ton of different things. So really, whatever questions you have, like feel free to like just shoot them at me through this little chat thing. Yeah, it is not 8:30 p.m. for me. But basically, to preface, I guess crisis committees are a little bit, not a little bit, they're pretty different from GA committees, GA ECOSOC committees, in that they are a lot smaller. So rather than having a room of maybe 50 to 70 delegates in an ECOSOC committee and then like 100 plus delegates in a GA committee, these are going to be concentrated rooms of like 15 to 20 people max. And the unique part about this is that you get a ton of speaking time. You get to put like a ton of your actions to actually occurring. So I think it's a lot more hands-on experience, and as some would say, it's more fun. Plus, you get to hang out with me for a ton of hours because we have a lot of fun committee sessions coming up. So it's just very dynamic, very fast-paced, a lot different than GA ECOSOC committees. And so if you guys have any specific questions about the dynamic, is there an exact time where a committee is set? Yes, so it's going to be taking place during the South African apartheid, which existed in South Africa from like the 1940s to like late 1990s. So we're going to begin in the 1940s. If you look up, or if you read our background guide, you'll get the exact date, but just general, starts in the 1940s. Um, that being said, I'll definitely cover a little bit about the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit, but this is going to be a more kind of general webinar talking about crisis and like things you can do to succeed in crisis and things like that, and what we're looking for basically in general. That being said, like please continue to ask me questions on this chat so I can cater to your interests as best as I can. Okay, so continuing with crisis committees, I guess. So there's smaller committees, of course, 20-ish people, and you'll have a chair, but you'll also have a crisis director. So this crisis director will be located in kind of a back room, and she's going to be the one. My crisis director is Meda. Isn't our beginning in the jail? I will address that in a little bit. Okay, so our crisis director is Meda. So that means she's going to be the one responding to all your notes and basically the portfolio powers that you have. You're going to be trying to push forward actions by writing her notes and influence committee kind of secretly, so no one really knows about these actions that you're taking that you're in correspondence with the crisis room with. So you just want to kind of be super dynamic in what you want from this committee, and you can really do anything as long as it's within your portfolio powers. And the main thing about crisis notes is that you want to make them super detailed. You want to captivate the attention of the crisis director because she's going to be getting a ton of notes. And if it's kind of bland and dry and it's just like, dear whoever, like, dear secretary, like, please help me send 400,000 military troops into blank. That's not really going to get you anywhere because we want kind of detail and a lot of effort put into these notes to ensure that why we want 400 military troops be like taken in somewhere. So you need to like propose a really detailed request and kind of capture our attention to make sure that you get your plans moved. Okay, questions. Should we write 2 different position papers for 2 topics? So crisis committees, I believe you only have to write 1 position paper because it's only 1 topic, right? So it's structured a little differently from GA and structured differently from GA and ECOSOC committees where you have 2 topics. Generally, in the past, I believe we have had 2 different position papers, but I would definitely direct all questions to that to either a GA or ECOSOC chair or our Secretary General, Anna Ronchik. So her email is actually going to be, let's see. Well, it is on the website. I currently don't have it on me right now, but make sure you go to the website and just like email her about position papers. For crisis committees, it should only be 1 because there's only 1 topic. DISEC. So DISEC currently has, it has 2 different topics. So I would say, yes, you would need 2 different position papers for your topics. And then I see Faraz's question, isn't our beginning in the jail? So I could be wrong, but yes, we are beginning in a jail. So basically, the structure of the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit is that we're all going to be situated in a jail on Robben Island, and that's with like Nelson Mandela as the chair, I believe. So that would be me. But basically, your goal in the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit is that you're really trying to get out of this jail and actually influence change within South Africa. Because currently, a white minority is ruling everything, and that's leading to a ton of racial segregation within South Africa, my bad. So that's leading to a ton of racial segregation in South Africa. And the thing is, you guys have been locked up. So you don't have the formal powers to kind of just like start rallies or get past the guards. Like, you need to come up with dynamic ways to actually get past the prison guards, reach the outside world, whether it be striking some sort of negotiations with these prison guards, seeing what they want to actually help you out, seeing if any of them are like traitors or even against this white minority rule. So it's really going to be very dynamic in terms of how you're responding to the like the issues taking place in South Africa, because it's not going to be typical. You'll really want to read about what's happening in Robben Island. So like the prison, for example, you want to see like what they did in their free time. So a lot of times soccer games were huge in the in South Africa during this time in terms of deciding various things. So maybe you can initiate a soccer game with the prison guards and see if they'd be up to it. But you'd have to do this maybe like sneakily and say, hey, like we just want to play soccer. That's it. But then you should maybe structure some sort of deal into it. So it's really up to you. I don't want to set any standards for how this committee should run or how this committee will run, because the delegates are the ones forming what actually goes on this committee. So basically, it's up to you guys to determine what end result you guys are fully looking for, and you guys are going to be able to do this through many moderated and unmoderated caucuses, where you're going to be able to talk to each other about all these things. If you guys have any other questions, as I can keep going on about crisis committees in general, which I will do. But if you have questions at any point, please feel free to type it in. Okay, so what else about crisis committees? So yeah, okay, so crisis committees in room. Basically, we're going to be running in a ton of moderated and unmoderated caucuses. So if you've done a GA or ECOSOC committee before, you know that there is a speakers list. And from that speakers list, each delegate goes up, gives maybe a minute and a half speech to 2 minute speech, right? So this is way different from what crisis is going to look like. Rather than having speeches, then two comments or questions, and then maybe initiating a moderated caucus on a particular topic, and then an unmod, you're only going to have the moderated and unmoderated caucuses. So for moderated caucuses, it's basically going to be 30 seconds to a minute, or 45 seconds to a minute 15. Really like whatever you propose, whatever you guys see fit for the topic that we're discussing at hand. And you'll say, motion, I'll ask, are there any points or motions on the floor? And then you'll say, motion for a 1 minute speaking time, 15-minute moderated caucus to discuss blank. So from there, you'll basically just kind of initiate what topic you want the committee to talk about, and then you will most likely have the floor. I would say, I'll ask you, do you wish to speak first? And you can either say, yes, I wish to speak first, or no, I wish to speak last, or whatever, basically. From there, so that's going to be your main form of debate throughout committee. And so rather than there being like a speakers list, you're going to be constantly, refreshing, uh, so you're going to be constantly extending this moderated caucus. So it's just going to be like, motion for a 5 minute extension of this moderated caucus, or motion for a 10 minute extension. So it's really just going to be a lot of fast paced debate. And then another thing that you guys can do are unmoderated caucuses, which is just kind of less formal. You guys are going to be speaking in groups, but it's not going to be like moderated by the chair. Why? It's called an unmoderated caucus. So it's not going to be moderated by the chair in any way. You guys are free to kind of come up with any directives, communiques, press releases at that time, but also even during committee. So, what else? Many of our powers arise depending on who you're interacting. God. Okay, so as for the time discrepancy, just make sure to check the background guide. It's all stated in there. I don't have it on me right now, but make sure you just look at it and double check. Um, in terms of A Long Walk to Freedom and Invictus, Invictus had a fairly comprehensive overview of football, not soccer. Um, so, yeah, sorry, I realized I'm using soccer, but that's here in the United States and nowhere else in the world. I know this because I lived in India, so that is my bad. Um, but basically, football in South Africa, it's a really football kind of like a general example. I'm pretty sure football was huge during the apartheid state, but also a review of football, not soccer. Is that accurate? Um, yeah, you could basically follow soccer as a tool for liberation, just because that's generally what they did. But I do see that you came up with this discrepancy in Invictus, so I would just kind of um, you can really like propose any game that you want. I know we're doing this committee actually for UpMonk here in Pennsylvania, which is actually taking place this weekend. So that in our South African Anti-Apartheid Summit here, we're using soccer, but it's basically up to you guys. Whatever game that you guys think fits best to South Africa. I mean, I don't want to set any like clear standards as to like what you guys should be doing in committee. So basically, just choose whatever you want and then follow through with it as long as people kind of adjust to it. Basically, I'm not going to set any hard restrictions in terms of what you can and can't do because I want you guys to be as creative as possible. Um, okay, continuing on, I'll talk a little bit more about crisis committees in general. So basically, in room, you guys are going to be formulating directives, and these directives are actions taken by you to actually influence committee and and say what the committee is going to do. So these are going to be very direct and to the point. I would think of them as like a mini resolution, except way more direct, no flowery language. It's just going to be kind of bullets. So you don't need to use preambulatory clauses. You don't have to use anything like that. It's just going to be like sponsor, like whoever you are, and then signatories. I'll tell you like a set amount of signatories that you need once we're in committee. Um, but basically these directives are going to be driving what actually influences what happens in committee. So once these directives are passed, they'll go back to the crisis room, and routinely Mayda will come in, who's our crisis director, and she'll give us an update as to what's going on in the outside world. So after you pass a directive, something is sure to happen in the outside world because they're going to react to this. So we'll come in and say, "Hey, this is what happened. What are you going to do now?" And it's going to constantly like be like that. It's going to be like crisis after crisis after crisis, and you guys are just going to have to be on top of it and making sure that you're attending to everything that's going on in the country. Otherwise, obviously, your goals aren't going to be satisfied, and that is not the goal of this weekend. You guys are trying to get out of this jail, probably, if that's what you want, and maybe overthrow the apartheid state, if that's what you want. Um, but yeah, that's how directives will work. So they'll go directly to the chair and then to the crisis room. Um, so other than that, you're also going to routinely be writing crisis notes to Meda. I touched on this a little bit earlier in this webinar, but so you're going to routinely be writing these crisis notes. They're going to go to the crisis room, and you're going to be trying to influence committee kind of secretly through your actions. So um, that's basically, you want to make sure that your crisis notes are always addressed to someone. So I'd say early on, kind of establish maybe three main point people. Say maybe in my South African Anti-Apartheid Summit, it might not work well, but you might say like dear father or dear sister. In like a U.S. cabinet kind of thing, you might say like dear secretary or dear like military chief with something military general. You just want to like kind of set these relationships, and you want to say how you met these people. So for example, if it's like dear sister, like dear sister, I remember the days 20 years ago when we walked hand in hand to school together, and I looked out for you with all your friends as you ate that peanut butter and jelly sandwich under that tree. So it's going to be like very detailed. You want to keep the crisis room captivated at all times because they're going to be reading these and they're going to get so many of these. And if yours stands out, we're more likely to kind of give in to what you want. So be as creative as possible. That's like the main goal. Let me check if there's any other questions. Um, Feel free to ask me questions about anything, honestly. Like, just type them. I will answer all of them. I just want to make sure I'm catering this best to your questions and what you guys want to get out of this. So please ask me questions. Um, so basically, crisis notes are going to be sent directly to crisis room, and then that's another way you're going to influence committee. So it's basically a combination of directives and crisis notes, which are mostly going to be influencing committee. But then there's a couple other forms of debate, or not debate, but actions you can take as a committee. One of these is a communique. So a communique is going to be from a group of people in the room to the outside world. So this could actually be instrumental in the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit, just because you guys are going to be a group of prisoners, and it's really going to be instrumental for you guys to work together to actually get out of here. Um, so this is going to be like a joint message to the outside world. And then a press release is going to be so back to press releases are going to be like news broadcasts. So in terms of a crisis committee, one second. So it can be like you want to just kind of like communicate some huge event that happened to the committee. So if you're writing a press release, then you want it to like you're saying this event happened during committee, and you kind of need to get the approval of committee to actually pass this press release. So it's setting like another thing that's going on. Okay, back to Faraz. As characters, I find ourselves fairly powerless. Okay, yeah, so you're saying that you're fairly powerless, right? So that's the goal of this committee. We're not trying to give you any power because this is your committee and we want you to figure out dynamic ways to get out of here. So you're going to be in jail, right? But there are going to be times when you're going to be going to lunch or you're going to be allotted like gym time or like playing soccer or football time. So during those times, you need to kind of talk to other delegates. It's going to be essential to work together because obviously there's strength in numbers, right? So with strength in numbers, you can almost do anything. And within this prison, you're gonna have all these. You're you're gonna also have time to call the outside world because in prison you get allotted a certain amount of time, or things like that. But um, so I wouldn't say don't think that you're not gonna have any power. You just have to think of dynamic ways to actually get power, get your power back. Because in reality, this is what it was like in South African apartheid, and these people were completely stripped of their rights, and obviously, like they got out of their prison, they overthrew the apartheid state peacefully. Nelson Mandela overthrew it peacefully, and that's something that's very remarkable and respectable. So, um, basically, I don't wanna lay out any explicit things that you guys should be doing, but hopefully I've hinted towards a few different things that you guys can do. I would say look up the nature of Robben Island and see how it's structured, see what Nelson Mandela did and kind of think about his actions. You can really it's going to be you can also get like with notes, like crisis room notes. I mean, you could get someone to visit you and this could be an influential person. See what connections you've had in the past. See how you can leverage these connections. Um, See if you can get someone in the outside world to help you out and actually maybe impeach the current president, something like that. And if they're influential enough, they could rally people, and you could be doing this from the inside of your prison. So it's going to be very. You might have to like establish some sort of like code in terms of how you're writing to them, just because prison guards can obviously like pick them up anytime and like actually read what you're writing. So you want to like maybe communicate in specific codes. So you could say, hey, like when we were little, remember when we talked like this? And that's like a specific code that you're referring to. And then once you explain to the crisis room, we'll be able to understand what you're actually trying to attain. So, this is, for us, I see that it kind of helps, but I don't want to like say anything explicit because this is your committee and I want you guys to be super dynamic and I know you guys can and I'm you guys can definitely come up with more things than I can as one person, as a committee. And I just want to see what you guys come up with. You guys will, don't be worried about not having power. Like, you guys will definitely, it's not going to be a stalemate in committee where you can't pass anything. You guys will be able to, but only if you guys work together and um, come up with creative ways to actually make that happen. Okay. What do you mean by take the help of people from outside? Yeah, so outside the prison. Yeah, but how? Okay. Um, so I I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I mean, in prison, you're gonna get phone calls to the outside world, um, or you might have to manipulate someone to like let you get a phone call if you don't get phone calls. We'll kind of establish like what rights you do and don't have at the beginning of committee, but you just have to think creatively. that's only that's I read some etiquette. That's really like the best I can do for you. But if you guys have more general crisis questions, please feel free to ask me about that. I don't want to. I know some people are not in South African Anti-Apartheid Summit, so I don't want to fully only talk about that. Um, but okay. So a little bit more about crisis committees. Um, so just to get a feel for how many for you guys watching, if you have participated in a crisis committee, can you say yes in the chat right now? Let's see. Okay, it doesn't look like anyone's participated in a crisis committee yet. Okay, that's very exciting. So this will be really fun. First crisis committee if this is your first. Um, ILMUNC India, like, we aim to make sure that our committees are super dynamic and super exciting for our delegates. And we want to make sure that you guys have so much input in what's going on, because I think I've been on the other side of a crisis committee. So I'll tell you guys a little bit more about my Model UN experience. In high school, I started competing in Model United Nations in 10th grade. So my high school was like very competitive, very into Model UN, of course. That's why I'm still into it in college. But I mostly participated in General Assembly and ECOSOC committees. So I only started doing crisis here in college, and so I went to a Model UN conference last February and then last April, and one of them was like a joint crisis committee, which was insane. It was like 10 joint crises altogether, which is it was so insane, like unreal. Like I just can't. I'll talk to you guys about it in person if you have any questions about it. But it was a very interesting dynamic in terms of how that worked. Um, and then oh, okay. So a few of you guys have done crises, cool. But so then after I came back to, when I came to Philly, I started participating more in crisis committees. And right now I'm a USG of crisis committees for UpMonk, which is our collegiate conference here in Pennsylvania. It's actually being held this weekend. So I'm managing the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit. So our chairs here are fantastic. They came up with the idea for it, which is insane because it's just such a creative thing to come up with this committee. It's so dynamic and they're going to run it so well. And I just can hope that I can do the same for you guys. Ma'am, you are cool. Thank you. I really appreciate that. um, but let's see. What else for us? You have more questions. I'll be acting. Mm. Okay. So for your question for us, I would say email me so I can give you a fully developed response to that because obviously this is just pertaining to your character. So if you can email me, my email should be on the website. If not, email Anna Ronchek, whose email will be on the website, and she'll forward it to me. But when you do that, I'll definitely like respond to your questions. I've done quests before, one of them. Okay, so basically, I know some of you guys have been crisis. You guys have been crisis delegates, but sometimes these have been countries, right? So it's a little different as a character because it's not really that different, honestly. I mean, you're gonna have. as a country, you're basically acting as like a political figure because you can't act as an inanimate country. You're acting as an animate figure in the country. But I mean, it's going to be basically the same thing. You want to get actions pushed through committee, through crisis notes. You want to be working with other delegates to pass directives. You want to gain the most support. Basically, in order to be successful, you want people to rally around you and look to you when there is a new crisis. So, if when Mela comes into the crisis room, you want to set such a precedent for yourself being a great crisis delegate that people are automatically going to be like, oh, like, that kid's going to know what to do, you know? So I'd say the most important thing is just to like establish yourself on the first day and say like make yourself seem like the most dynamic person in the room because that's gonna put you so far ahead in terms of committee. Just because people are always looking to rally around a leader, and especially in as confusing but exciting and dynamic of a committee as the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit, some people you just want to make sure that you're detailed and come up with creative ways to actually get out of this prison. So honestly, like I'd come up with these ways beforehand and see what can and can't be implemented from the startup committee. And if we ever say no to a proposal, it's going to be because it would alter like exactly what the committee wants forward, or it's just not detailed enough and you don't tell us enough about what your plan is. So your main goal should be to make sure that your plan is super detailed and that you know exactly what's like what you want out of this committee and how you can actually get there. Um, yes, JCCs are insane. It's just so much stuff going on. What's the duration of accelerated timeline? Do you mean um, do you mean in for my committee, South African Anti-Apartheid, for the duration? Um, have you guys all read the background guide? If you have not, I would highly suggest reading it right now. Well, not now, but like, um, basically, you want to make sure that you're super well versed in everything because this can be essential to your success here at ILMUNC India. But if you haven't already, it's the password is Ben Franklin 2016. Our dear Ben Franklin here at the University of Pennsylvania. Um, so accelerated timeline. The other crisis committee as well, I believe. So basically, our crisis director, me and Meda, will tell you at the beginning of committee like how each day will correspond to in like years, but it basically depends on like what you pass, you know. So for a crisis update, if you guys want to pass something, we will give you like results like in the next year or so, you know. It just depends on what kinds of things you pass, and we'll let you know like the timeline at the beginning of committee so you're familiar with it. But I think it's important for you guys kind of aim your actions like long term. You want to push towards the end of the apartheid state in South Africa. So that kind of covers a long period of time. So we'll make sure to get through all of it, but we'll establish exactly how much like how many denominations each day is going to represent. So in the other crisis committees as well, like they'll make that clear at the beginning. Um, okay, yeah, so we haven't explicitly said when we started. Okay, so just like email me about that, and I will definitely get back to you about the when exactly we're starting. If you have any questions at all, like please just email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I'm very, very excited to come see you guys because I know it's going to be a great weekend. Hopefully, you guys are excited too. ILMUNC India is like in addition like committee stuff, just hanging out with everyone and meeting all these people. Definitely use your time to talk to upperclassmen, especially if you're applying to college. Like feel free to ask us any questions. We're definitely here to help you. um, we all did model UN before, so and we love like international affairs, which is why we're part of this club here at Penn. So we're definitely willing to help you about with any of your interests. We're super excited. um, but yeah, I mean, more about crisis committee. I think I've kind of covered most things about crisis committees. You guys have any questions right now about like directives or communiques, things like that? I guess it's gonna be a crazy experience. Yeah, it is, but it's gonna be so fun. Like, please get excited because it's gonna be one of the best weekends of your life, and probably one of mine. No, definitely one of mine. So, um, yeah, get hyped for this. Tell us more about yourself. Okay, let's think. Okay, I covered where I'm from. I'll tell you what I like to do in my free time. So, I guess moving from LA to Philadelphia is very interesting experience just because LA is so much warmer than Philadelphia. Well, first of all, moving from LA to Bangalore, that was interesting because it's just so incredibly different, you know? Bangalore's it's just so different on so many levels. Like I can't even explain. Um, but and then coming back to LA, that was very insane because I started to like really love India and I didn't want to go back to LA. But then I came back here and it was just completely new again, despite living there for so long. So after living in LA, I decided to go to college in Philadelphia 4 years later, right? I did not expect to come to the East Coast, and it is an insane experience, and I'm so glad I did it because it's amazing. Um, I think it's definitely, um, so I think it's definitely like very interesting to get out of your comfort zone and see what's out there for you because there's just so much going on, and I mean, you should take advantage of every opportunity that you possibly have. You guys are lucky enough to come to ILMUNC India, so I would definitely take advantage of that experience. There's gonna be people from all over India that you're gonna be able to meet, and I think that's gonna be very exciting for you guys to kind of get different perspectives on these topics and kind of make friends with all these people. Um, so what I like to let's see. First, let me answer this question. What tips would you give to a first-time crisis delegate? Okay, so first time crisis, I did my first crisis actually like earlier this year, right, in college. So I think the main thing is look up exactly how a crisis committee works. So I know I've kind of given you a general outline, and it's going to be just to lay it out more explicitly. You're going to be having crisis notes going on at one end. So you're going to be working on those on one end, and you're going to have directives slash communiques slash press releases going on the other end. So directives and stuff is what's going to be happening inside the crisis room, whereas like so where you're debating, you're going to be coming up with that, and then on the other side, you're going to be doing all these crisis note stuff, backroom stuff about what you want to do secretly, and that's going to be going through Meda. So you're definitely going to be in communication with both of us, except one of us is more implicitly, one of us more explicitly. With me being explicit because I'm right there. So we both are going to be playing a huge role in making sure that your actions are passed in committee. Um, but yeah, first time crisis delegate, just familiarize yourself with exactly how crisis works. If you have any friends who have done it before, I definitely like sit down with them and have them tell you their experience. Or you can email me about my experience, of course. Definitely here to help you in any way that I possibly can, or clarify any of the roles that you have in committee. Um, but I think, and then also just come up with things you could do. Just like have rough ideas about what you want to do in committee. You obviously want to come in prepared for action and for an ability. You want to have the ability to influence people. So if you're already like thinking about it, you're like, I want to do this. So this doesn't mean pre-written directives or anything, but you want to be just coming up with ideas and you want to know exactly what's going on in the South African anti-apartheid state at this time, or any whatever crisis committee that you're in. But the main point, I think, what's been most helpful to me in Model UN conferences is that just preparation weeks in advance is really what allows you to succeed most. Because if you're putting in all this effort and what I see is that when you put in a lot of effort into something, for me at least, you just find something inherently more interesting just because you've devoted so much time to it. Um, so that, so basically, like, I think just put in a ton of effort in this committee. If you're looking to do well and you're looking to have a fun time, like that's going to be paying off long run. And I think this goes for anything really. Like if you want to do well in anything in life, you're going to have to put in a lot of hard work and then just be a kind person and everything will work out. You want to make sure you don't cut corners because there's no you won't get as much satisfaction from that. But you want to just make sure you're preparing as best as you can, and that'll go a long way. Like, I will be able to see this, I'll be able to recognize that in you guys. Just the fact that you guys are watching this right now shows that you're so excited and so prepared to come to ILMUNC India, and I'm so excited for that. Um, and then just introduce yourselves to me. I want to hear more about you guys. So, like, I just want to know you guys on a personal level and see. Um, wait, what? I've had a delegate telling the committee that they would send aides. Um, Froz, I'm unsure about your question. um, yeah, so I mean, delegates can do pretty radical things in the crisis room. It really, like, you can be pretty wild. I mean, it's all secret, right? So it just depends on what the crisis room thinks will best move the course of debate. And I mean, things like that will happen. You just have to be prepared and kind of respond to it. Some things you just can't prepare for, and you just have to respond and kind of see what happens. What are social nights? So, social nights. If you look at our conference schedule on our website, let's see, dinner and social event is going to be on Friday and Saturday, right? Um, Honestly, I'm not sure what the social events are yet, but we do have them planned. And I'm not specifically in charge of them. I'm in charge of my South African Anti-Apartheid Summit committee. But social events are just going to be ways for you guys to get to know each other, whether it be like a delegate dance or something similar to that. But our goal is to make sure that ILMUNC India is not only an educational experience, but we want to make sure you guys are having fun while you're doing all this Model UN. So at night, just take time to relax. Don't stress too much. The main goal of our conference is to make sure that you guys have a fantastic time, getting to know us, getting to know other delegates, and really just getting to know what your strengths are in committee, what your weaknesses are, and what you can work on to actually become the best delegate you can possibly be. Because Model UN, I think, is something that is so valuable. Um, Model UN is something so valuable because you learn so much from it. Just the fact that you're able to, like, you're able to speak in front of all these people and come up with the actions right away. That's, you're practicing problem solving skills, and you're practicing your public speaking skills simultaneously. And I think those are some of like the main things that are gonna help you on later in life. I've seen, just by participating in Model UN, in my in high school and coming to Penn, I realized that it helped me so much in interviews because, for example, clubs here, you have to interview for a lot of them. And I think it's just given me the ability to speak clearly about my decisions or my experiences and kind of communicate it to them persuasively and convincingly in a way that I can show them that these events have actually affected me. So I think Model UN is just super, super important and super helpful in the long run in just various ways. And also, you can think of it in crisis committees sometimes. It's kind of like an acting contest, you know? Because best be, you want to best be embodying your character throughout committee, and that's going to be what essentially makes you succeed. If you're able to embody your character while also passing all of these actions and able to rally people around you. What's your policy on us using the internet during committee? Okay, I would prefer that you guys don't use internet during committee because sometimes with internet, I mean, in this committee, in crisis, usually internet doesn't help you that much. It's gonna be for you guys. I want you guys to do a lot of prep outside, so I'd say print out things, make a research binder if you want. That's what I did when I competed in Model UN. I definitely have a research binder of anything that can help me, and I definitely think that's okay if you have a ton of research printed out. But I think with internet, people can sometimes get caught up in whether it be Facebook or some other websites, you know. Um, so I just want to make sure you guys are engaged the entire time and have prepared a ton. So I don't want you guys preparing within committee while you're debating with other people, and I want you guys to be respectful of each other when you guys are talking. So when someone's talking, like, definitely pay attention to them. You can work on your crisis notes simultaneously, but don't be rude or anything. I know you guys won't be in, or you guys are gonna be an awesome committee, But just as a clarification point, I don't want internet to kind of take away from the exciting experience of getting to know other delegates within room. Um, may you have my email ID? It should be on the website. Let me see if it is on the website. I'm checking the South African Anti-Apartheid Summit. Okay. So you don't have my email ID. So if you want my email ID, I would email secgen@ilmunc-india.com, or you can email dirgen for Director General at ilmunc-india.com. Because my email ID would be a lot to write down, so I would just email them for basically getting my information, and then you can email me with any questions that you have. The Secretariat's email should all be on there so they can forward them to me, and I will get them right away, really. When will we get our itinerary for ILMUNC? What do you mean itinerary? The conference schedule is on the website. So if you navigate to conference and then schedule, you'll be able to see when all the committee sessions are, when all the panels are, opening ceremonies, social events, all this stuff. We also have tea breaks, which I'm very excited for. I love tea. Chai, actually. But yeah, in terms of your school itinerary, you'll have to coordinate with your school for that. I'm not sure. But conference schedule's up on the website. Also at conference, we're going to be having like a ton of different panels for college admissions. We're going to have like a few different things talking about like Penn specifically. So like feel free to ask any questions about Penn. Like it's honestly a great school. ILMUNC India is definitely one of the best decisions I've made here at Penn. And though I haven't been there, just preparing for it, the people I'm working with are so excited to come and passionate about their committees that they're going to be chairing, whether it be some GA or EcoSoc committees or crisis committees. Like everyone is so passionate about what they're about to do with the delegates, and how we're all just so excited to meet you guys and like see what you guys are up to, see what you guys are like, see how you guys think, especially because we staffed ILMUNC here in America. And I just want to see like the difference between delegates who are competing at ILMUNC India versus ILMUNC, because definitely living in Bangalore and living in America and living in Los Angeles, you see like different cultures, right? Where you see like different emphasis on different things, and I think that's like sometimes very interesting. You just get like different ideas coming across from different people, and I think that's super exciting to hear. Should all delegates attend the leadership forum? Leadership forum is leadership. Yeah, I think I would encourage you to do so. It's gonna be a fun time, the leadership forum. But I'd encourage you to come to like all the events, because ILMUNC India is gonna have a lot of fun stuff that we're planning for you guys. So I would say don't miss out on it. It's gonna be a fun time. Then you're gonna learn a lot. Rip my internet. No, don't RIP your internet. What else? Do you guys have any other questions about anything? Can you hear me? I'm hoping you guys can hear me. Okay. I still see some viewers, so I'm assuming some of your internet is still up. But I think I've gone over mostly what crisis committees are looking like. Basically, okay, you guys have problems with the internet. It's still broadcasting. Okay, but I think I'll end off on this note. Basically, I'm super excited to see you guys. Get ready for a weekend of super fun debate and super fun social events, and getting to know all of us here on the Secretariat, and also getting to know delegates from all over the world who are coming to ILMUNC India. Everyone is going to have a fantastic time. It's really just going to be an amazing weekend, an amazing experience for both me and everyone in the Secretariat, but also you guys. And our main priority is to make sure that you guys have the most fun during this committee, during all the committees that we're hosting. And if you have any questions at any time, feel free to come up to your chairs or email secgen@ilmunc-india.com. You can find the emails on the website, or you can email Director General also. So I just want to say, okay, what do you look for in delegates? I'll answer one last question. So what do I look for in delegates? I look for someone who's a self-starter, and I look for someone who's really pushing their creative solutions forward. You basically want to make sure that you are the most creative person in the room and that you are really driving debate and people are just drawn to you because you've set such a precedent for yourself that people are like, okay, that girl or that guy is going to be the one who's going to be responding to this crisis first and they're going to be the ones with the best ideas. So once you set that precedent, I mean, you're going to do well, you know? As long as you're consistent with what you're doing and you're constantly killing it. Also, good balance of directives in committee and communiques and press releases. Mostly directives is what generally happens in committees. Mixed with crisis notes with the inside world because me and Mather are both going to be like, oh, this delegate looked really good during committee. But if you're not talking within committee, I mean, there's no way for me to see that you're performing well. So I want to make sure in crisis, this is very important in crisis committees. You want to make sure you're working the back room and you're working the inside room. So both of us see how good of debaters you guys are. Um, how do I feel about the election? um, um, so like, I don't want to release my political opinions on here, of course. I mean, we can talk about this in person, of course, but I mean, it's a gloomy day outside, if that reflects the sentiments of some of us here in America. It's just kind of it startlingly occurred because a lot of us didn't expect this year, so it's just a major upset, um, statistically in what we thought was going to happen. And up until yesterday, like we heard the polls saying it wasn't going to be Trump. So then it was crazy. Like we just can't really believe it. It's kind of interesting. Rip America, I guess. No, we'll be fine. I think it's important to stay optimistic, regardless of any outcome. I think optimism is the best thing that anyone can possess, whether it be in committee or whether it just be in life. I think as long as you're working hard, you're a kind person, and you're optimistic about the future and what to expect, I really think you're just gonna succeed no matter what. And I mean, that's what I hope to just always be kind to people and genuine and optimistic. And I think that's really what pushes you over the edge and allows you to do well. Um, so I think that's about it. Super nice to actually meet you guys virtually. I will be there in India in a couple weeks, and I'm so like incredibly excited to meet all of you guys. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you know where to email it. Honora's email and Jolin's email are on the website, so feel free to send it to either of them, and then they'll forward it to me directly, and then I will talk to you more.